Back again. Another episode of A Muslim and an Atheist Breaks Bread. What you saying, Pops?
I'm good, man.
Okay, so I thought we'd take a quick break from our discovery of India. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the world. There's always a lot going on in the world, so this is a bit crazy, really. I mean, it's not like this conflict hasn't been going on for, 75 years, is it? But there's a lot of media coverage on it at the moment, I should say. Which is a good question as well. Like, there's a lot of media coverage going on with Israel-Palestine, but you won't see a nice story about what's going on in the Congo with M23 militia groups massacring people and taking over whole villages. So again, I guess it's what's important to who's running the place. And when I say that, it doesn't mean that I don't have sympathy or empathy for what's going on, because I do. I feel like all war is unnecessary, but all loss of innocent life is unnecessary and unjust. So yeah, we're going to dive into a quick history of the Israel-Palestine conflict. And we're going to do a history because we could have pulled something up from very recent. However, this goes back so far that there's probably a lot of people. There shouldn't be anyone who thinks that this has just kicked off with an attack on Israel from Hamas, is what I should say. There's always something before what the writers of history want to tell you. There's always a prelude. So I don't know if you're going to hear about, and a lot of people might not even care. A lot of people might think, yeah, but that happened 75 years ago from, when the British took the Jews, the European Jews who were displaced, and slapped them smack bang in the middle of Palestine and said, basically, we're going to make this your territory. Drew out areas on a map and let them settle. But what's been happening is, which I hope this video shows, is the encroachment into areas. So if you don't know, Israel is a Jewish state, and then the Gaza Strip and West Bank are predominantly, if not solely, Muslim.
Palestinians,
Palestinians, which is again Muslim.
I don't know if it's Muslims, Christians, or Jews but the Palestinians.
Okay, so we'll find that out as well. If anyone knows in the comments, then let us know again. I'm talking from very limited knowledge from what I know. So yeah, we're going to watch the video and we're going to jump into it, and then we'll have a discussion about what's going on now, how it relates to what we watched, and what we think, honestly. So here we go. History of Israel-Palestine conflict.
Israel, the world's only Jewish state, located east of the Mediterranean Sea, and Palestine, the territory of the Arab population that hails from the Israel-controlled land, have long been known for their enduring conflict with the Israeli occupation of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. The tension between Israel and Palestine has been deteriorating in years, climaxing with many violent clashes between the two sides.
Can I just say, I did not know that is how small the Gaza Strip was.
Yeah, the word strip.
yeah, but for some reason I just thought it'd be like huge, because again, you don't really hear about the West Bank, you hear about Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
I hope this tells me how many people live in that tiny piece there. That's crazy.
Wasn't it like 1.8 million down from 3 million originally?
Is that what it is? Mad.
Same size as Jamaica, according to the maths I was doing on the thing. Population.
Yeah, let's have a look.
To understand the root of the Israel-Palestine conflict, we have to look back a few thousand years ago.
Oh, okay, we're going right back.
Early history of Israeli-Palestinian conflict. In the 17 centuries BC, following the call of God, 3 patriarchs of the Jewish people, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, settled in Canaan, a region approximating present-day Israel, the West Bank, and the Gaza Strip, parts of Lebanon, Syria, and Jordan. The region later had the name the Land of Israel, the Promised Land, the Palestine region, or the Holy Land. In 1000 BC, King Saul established the Israelite monarchy, which then was ruled by King David, who made Jerusalem the capital of his kingdom, and his son King Solomon, who built the first temple in Jerusalem. After the death of King Solomon, the united monarchy was split into the Kingdom of Israel in the north, with Samaria as the capital, and the Kingdom of Judah in the south, with Jerusalem as the capital. The land became home to a majority of Jews, but then it was subject to numerous conquests of various groups, leading to the significant decrease of the Jewish population on the land. One of these conquests was conducted by the Roman Empire, who gave the name Palestine to Judah, intending to break the Jewish connection with the land of Israel. During this time, Christianity, which started as a Jewish sect, ultimately became a dominant religion toward the end of the Roman Empire. In the 7th century came an Arab conquest, beginning the spread of Islam. The Dome of the Rock was built on the ruin of the Second Temple, making Jerusalem the holy city to 3 monotheistic religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. After Christians in Jerusalem were intensely persecuted by the Seljuk Turks, a Central Asian empire with ambition to expand its territory, Christians in Europe launched several crusades to bring the holy city back to the hand of the Christians. During this time, many Jews were killed. Others were making pilgrimages everywhere, mostly in Western Europe. From the 16th century to World War I, the Holy Land, along with much of the Middle East, was ruled by the Ottoman Empire, an Islamic superpower. The land was unofficially called Palestine. At the same time in Europe, more and more Jews were joining a movement called Zionism, aiming to create a Jewish national state in its ancient homeland. Hence, in the first decade of the 20th century, tens of thousands of Jews moved from Europe back to the region. Israel and Palestine under the British rule. World War I exploded.
Okay, so this is obviously, pre-Jesus Christ history. It's going into King David, Solomon, Abraham. So you had Abraham, Isaac, and who? What's the other brother? Judah.
Yeah, go on. What's the question?
Yeah, so the question is, it's saying that was the majority, that's where the Jews were, in it? Or that's where Judaism started there, yeah?
When the land was promised to them by God, right? So yeah, the patriarchs, all that, they get there. Then they get booted out by the Romans and everything around the Jesus era.
Yeah, but just so we're clear, that not the first, because obviously you had religions before Judaism, but from the monotheistic religions, Judaism, they were there first, yeah? Mm-hmm. Right.
The children of Israel.
Yeah, okay. That's just wanted to clarify that, because I think a lot of this argument predates to who was there first, doesn't it? So from one side, we were
the argument
first.
predates something on the basis that it completely neglects race. Now it's in Africa, and it's a non-African tribe trying to say we was here before the Africans, effectively.
Okay.
Israel, North Africa, right? Mm-hmm. Russian Jews don't come from North Africa ever. Okay. So the religion is one thing, but the geographical displacement of the people is another.
Okay. And ended with the collapse of the Ottoman Empire. Its land in the Middle East was carved by the British and French empires. The British then gave more independence for Iraq and Jordan,
Turks, right?
And the region remaining under the control of Britain was what it called the British Mandate for Palestine, where Britain promised to establish a Jewish national homeland under its Balfour Declaration, which went into effect in 1923. Tensions between the Jews and the Arabs who both claimed the land grew, which even led to acts of violence. By the 1930s, following the increasing Jewish population in Palestine due to the fear of
persecution, just gone from Balfour Agreement, makes it sound like everybody was there. This was a meeting where The British signed over Palestine. They didn't have them at the meeting asking them or agreeing with them. They signed over Palestine to the Jewish people them from Russia. So from that point forward, the Palestinian state no longer existed, and it was now being divvied up as Israel and Palestine to get them in. And then once they're in, now we're taking it all.
Yeah.
Due to the fear of persecution during the Nazi reign in Germany, the British limited Jewish immigration. In response, the Jewish militias formed to both fight the Arabs and resist the British rule. Then came the Holocaust throughout Nazi Germany, which claimed almost 6 million Jewish lives. After the war, more and more Jews then fled from Europe to Palestine to seek a homeland, escalating the tension with the Arabs. Overwhelmed by the situation, Britain began to withdraw from the region. The birth of the Israel State. After World War II, the UN proposed a plan to partition Palestine into 2 independent states, a Jewish state and an Arab state, with the city of Jerusalem becoming an international zone with a special status. However, the plan according to which the Jewish, accounting for only 1/3 of the population, was granted more territory, 56.5% of the land, was rejected by the Arabs. They began to form volunteer armies throughout Palestine. Less than 1 year after that, as Britain completed its withdrawal from Palestine, Israel declared itself an independent state, marking a new, bloodier chapter in the struggle between the Jews and the Palestinian Arabs. The 1948 Arab-Israeli War. Right after the announcement of an independent Israel, a war between the Arabs and the Jews broke out, which was known as the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. The war involved 5 recently independent Arab nations: Egypt, Jordan, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon, the Arab League, who invaded the region in an attempt to establish a unified Arab Palestine. However, a ceasefire agreement was reached a year later, in which more than 2/3 of historic Palestine, including the West Jerusalem, belonged to Israel, while Jordan occupied East Jerusalem and the area known as the West Bank, and Egypt occupied the Gaza Strip. As a result, more than 750,000 Palestinians were expelled from the land where they lived for centuries on the day that they call Al-Nakba, or the catastrophe. With the deteriorated dispute between the Jews and the Arabs, there came more war.
Right, so. Why, if there was a ceasefire called and this Arab League went in, there was clearly 5 countries there, 5 Arab states. So why did they leave that deal with less land than they went in with? And why were 75,000 Palestinians displaced?
To make Israel.
Yeah, but why? That was the Arab League. Why did the Arab League
give in to British pressure?
Give it. So we're talking. So all right. So in this, it stated that the British weren't here at this point. The British have left, and they've just left Israel to do what they're doing. So was it the British still back in Israel?
Yeah.
At this point,
it's still a British territory. Now, anyway, British owned was a British territory, and Jews were safe across British territories. So Philistine, Palestine, as it was a British territory when they gave it to the Jews. It was a quick fix, even though the Jews had options. It was a quick fix, effectively.
So basically, the Arab state or Arab League, they bowed to the pressure from the Brits.
Arabs
so
weren't
Egypt,
organized
Jordan,
like that.
Lebanon.
Yeah.
All of them.
Egypt was run by Britain. Them was already conquered states.
Okay. So they pulled out. So basically, essentially they left the people of Palestine to just get shafted.
The paper was already signed from 17 something that they were gonna support the Jews to have their own place. Once they decided where they wanted to go. Sorry?
The British.
Well, the Russian Jews and the German Jews have been studying and planning it since 1700s.
Yeah, I can understand why they wanted to go
But
back to
the
Palestine.
British
That's not.
protectorate is where they chose, which was Palestine, a British protectorate.
Mm-hmm.
And so once that was chosen and sorted, Britain backed it. That was it. They've been backing it ever since.
But what I'm saying to you is they're surrounded by Arab states.
Yeah.
Like fully surrounded by Arab states. So why, at the time, and again, I'm not saying conflict was the right idea, but why has
America.
why have all them Arab states allowed that to happen? America.
Mm-hmm.
So when did America become involved? After the war,
From
same with
the
the
beginning.
British.
Now, what you're going to say, you've got a lot of what we call Arab states, which is you got a lot of nomadic people who live in a desert, bro, moving around. It's not quite the same as having headquarters, war offices.
Yeah.
The Arabs weren't organized like that. They were different nomadic groups who had their own little conflicts as a result of all the being shuffled around by colonialists. They've come together to be identified as a nation, but they weren't a nation before. They're just nomads in a vast space. So now you got...
Yeah, they didn't have like armies, like big armies.
They've never been a
like
collective.
war.
They've had a couple of times where they've managed to get it organized and come together and had a big skirmish somewhere. But they're not organized modern military tank units and arms stuff. It's just rich sheikhs with their people that they have, kind of the old feudal system in modern times. And who can afford to buy American weaponry still have the same poorly qualified trained people, but with modern high-tech equipment.
Came more wars and fighting in the following decades. The 60-Day War.
Is that 60 or 6?
It was in 1967 when the 60-Day War broke out after a volatile period of diplomatic friction and skirmishes between Israel and its neighboring Arab states, Jordan, Syria, and Egypt. This brief war ended with the victory of Israel, giving Israel control over the Golan Heights from Syria, the West Bank and East Jerusalem from Jordan, and Gaza and the Sinai Peninsula from Egypt. Sinai was later returned to Egypt under the Egypt-Israel Peace Treaty. After the war, most Palestinian refugees and their descendants were not allowed to return to their homes, but had to live in Gaza, the West Bank, and neighboring Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon. The First Intifada and the Oslo Accords. The rising number of Israelis settling in the Palestinian territories in the West Bank and Gaza gave rise to the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, first founded in Cairo, Egypt in 1964 to create a liberated Palestine in Israel. The PLO launched attacks on Israel from its base in Jordan. It was then forced to move from Jordan to Lebanon, starting to carry out acts of terrorism against Israel. Fighting went on for years, including the Israeli invasion of Lebanon to kick the PLO out of Beirut. The PLO eventually agreed to divide the land between Palestine and Israel, but there were still more and more Jewish settlers moved into the Israel-occupied Palestinian territories. In 1987, a violent Palestinian uprising was ignited, starting from the Jabalia refugee camp after an Israeli Defense Forces truck collided with 2 Palestinian civilian vans, killing 4 of them. This was known as the First Intifada. This bloody conflict, resulting in hundreds of deaths, triggered a peace process with the signing of the Oslo Accords by Israel and the PLO, the Oslo I Accord signed in Washington, D.C., and the Oslo II Accord in Taba, Egypt. According to the Oslo Accords, the West Bank was divided into 3 areas. Area A was exclusively controlled by the Palestinians. Area B was controlled by both the Palestinians and Israel. Area C was fully controlled by Israel. The Second Intifada. Though further peace talks continued in 2000, the Israelis and Palestinians could not reach agreements on issues like the status of Jerusalem, rights of refugees, and the increased Jewish settlement in Palestinian lands. Ariel Sharon, a Jewish Israeli who would later become Israel's prime minister, visited the Temple Mount, home to the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. The action was deemed offensive by many Palestinians, and the Second Intifada broke out. The violence ended with Israel's withdrawal from Gaza, but continued to settle in the West Bank. Israel conflict with Hamas. Hamas is a Sunni Islamist militant group aiming to destroy the state of Israel and create an Islamic state. After the armed conflict between Hamas and Fatah, who managed the PLO, Hamas split from the Palestinian Authority and gained power in the Gaza. Israel put Gaza under a suffocating blockade, leading to several bloody wars between the two groups in the Gaza Strip, including Operation Cast Lead, Operation Pillar of Defense, and Operation Protective Edge. In 2014, Hamas and Fatah reached agreement to form a national unity government. In 2018, the U.S. Embassy was relocated from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, which was deemed by the Palestinians as a signal of American support for Jerusalem as Israel's capital. 2021, the conflict between Israel and Palestine was reassumed by a series of hostile events in East Jerusalem, leading to several acts of violence until a ceasefire deal brokered by Egypt, Qatar, and the United Nations came into effect on May 21st. Peaceful though it may seem now, the complex and long-lasting territorial dispute between two states is a ticking time bomb that can explode any time. Thanks for watching. If you find this information useful, please give us a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe.
Okay, so that was a brief history. Seems like there's just a lot of territory. I feel like that missed out. Like you said, like you mentioned earlier, you know, there's a lot about territory, but there's a lot about religious and racial context to what's going on. That obviously that video didn't show. Because I mean, anyone could take from that video, yeah, but the Jewish people were there first. So what's the hold up? What's kind of the issue? They got forced out.
Anyone can take from it. The Jewish people were there in the Bible story.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say to you is it seems like everyone's right for the land came from conquest, doesn't it?
Oh, right to the land.
Everyone's claim to that land comes from conquest, whether you was Palestinian, whether you was,
I think,
Jewish,
right? Yeah, the
whatever.
Palestinian, Turkish, Ottoman thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, innit?
I will imagine it was more natural than invasion like Israel. So the Ottomans, when it was part of the
Surely
Ottoman
the Ottomans
Empire,
invaded everywhere, didn't they?
yeah, but they didn't annihilate everyone. That was the Mongols that annihilated everyone. The Ottomans just wanted to build another Rome. So it was slightly different now. By the time, like I said, the Jews decide to take Palestine, it's no longer Jewish. It's not Jewish or Turkish. It's just Jewish taking Palestine. There's no questions. It doesn't matter who was there.
Who's
They decided
doing
they
what?
wanted that. And that's all they're doing.
I think the main thing that, but this is what I'm trying to say. So from that little video, obviously we're gonna watch a lot more on this as it progresses to whatever happens. But I mean, there doesn't really go into, you know, the what am I looking for? The
Religious.
two-state solution. It doesn't really go into the geopolitics
solution or anything. Is there really is?
But
A man
really
saying to
there
you,
should be one.
I'm coming into your house. You and your wife on the bed. Move over. That is effectively a two-state solution.
Yeah. So this is what I'm trying to say in it. So what we have to do is, yeah, that's the two-state solution that's happening now, in it. But there has to be a point.
That's not happening. There's a war now. There is no two-state solution anymore. There's just total eradication of Palestinians. They want to push them out into Egypt and have no Palestinians, and the whole place is going to be called Israel. That's what's happening now.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what's happening now, and that's what I want to get into. Like I'm saying, what is the actual politics of what's going on now, rather than the historic. The historic context is, we know everyone thinks like they got a right to the land. That's great, but what's going on now in Israel, in Gaza? Who's backing who? I mean, like I said, yeah, for me,
no one's backing the Palestinians.
But this is my whole point as well. Why is no one backing the Palestinians? They're surrounded by Arab states. And like you said, back in the day, they were just tribes. Yeah, that's fine. That was back in the day.
But yeah,
Surely now.
no,
So you're telling me now,
no.
Egypt, Lebanon,
Who runs Egypt?
Syria.
Who runs Egypt?
I don't know. Who runs
England.
Egypt?
Still a British protectorate, innit? Even though the British came out and all that stuff, it's still their spot.
So basically, there's no Arab Brotherhood.
And all
Essentially, there's no
that
Arab
region
Brotherhood.
was being conquered from what they call the Crusades. So the Crusades.
But it's still a Muslim state, Egypt, isn't it? It's not a Christian state. Like, they still have a Muslim government. They might be, you could say they're puppets
They have a
to...
government. They have a government.
They have an
and it will
Egyptian
be an
government.
Islamic state. It will be an Islamic country
Right.
in terms of the national religion.
So you're telling me that Israel, so not Israel, Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Iraq, what's the other one? There's another one. Israel,
No
Syria.
matter ground.
All them countries there, why has no one been helping the Palestinians? I get what you're saying. Yeah, but it's...
They've always helped them. Right, they've
But-
always been helping them.
But they're still
What's
getting
happened
massacred and
recently
butchered.
is the closing of the borders of all these countries so that they can't escape when this onslaught started. So political pressure. Now, some of the other countries are starting to say, yo, we're declaring war, we're going to start firing shots into things. But Israel has got nuclear weapons. You understand? So they are a big stick and they have 100% American backing.
But what I would say is, are Israel going to use nuclear weapons in areas where their people live? Because by the looks of it, the Israeli people have encroached that much onto Gaza and West Bank.
I think
That Gaza, they might be able to. Gaza's just Palestinians. There's no Palestinians.
right,
There's no
Palestine,
Jewish people.
They can land attack that. But if anybody else responds...
West Bank, you mean?
is the
West
threat.
Bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all of what was Palestine, they're going to control that whole region. There's going to be no West Bank or Left Bank, just Israel. And that's what they're doing now, so they can get on with their building their temple again.
Yeah.
Right? But let me say, the Palestinians, they're out. They're out. They won't be allowed back in now. This is it. They're going on with their phase thing in America and the big stick supporting them to do what they're doing. Palestinian argument is over. It's just a few weeks and they'll have cleared them or killed them.
Do you think?
Yeah.
So you think they'll be gone, like just fully gone in the next by
Well,
the end of the year or early next
as
year?
I said, there isn't a Palestinian army. There's a Palestinian resistance, not a Palestinian army. And they're talking about it like they're fighting some army. Not fighting no army.
Yeah,
Just
no,
fighting
no.
a couple men who's jumps up
Got
and
some
takes
petrol
one
bombs.
shot. And then they respond with... So, but long term, right, like me say, Saudi can't respond because it's in with America. Iran is the big backer. America wants Iran to respond so that they can join in and attack Iran. That's the next war anyway. Iran, America attacking Iran, just like what they're doing with Russia. They're doing that with Iran at the same time right now. So this Israel incursion, is Iran. Israel's greatest fear is Iran. But Iran has to be ready to war with America. And America has been trying to control their nuclear program for the last how many years, so not 100% sure they're fight capable. Whereas America has got drone base in Africa, drones in this drone, that they can attack them from all around without losing any soldiers at all. But Iran also provided Russia with whole heap of drone stuff. So, in theory, it might be a fight, or it might just be another television spectacle. But
It's going to be another Ukraine.
this is the
essentially.
precursor to that Third World War, which is Iran, America, and Israel only acting so maliciously
Because they got
want
backed.
it.
They're getting backed.
Well, they need that war to take place. They get everything and keep everything. If the Americans wade in and take Iran, they keep everything that they had. Israel's attacked America before, attacked American ships and American thing, and they just let them do it, and they don't even report it, hardly. So Israel sink American ships who dare to protect them and all things like that, for no reason, just for the fun of it. And America don't do anything at all.
Yeah.
But it's, like I say, a private estate in the middle of somewhere for those people. They say they're not black, they're not racial, they're not religious, they're not anything, they're just Jews. What does that mean? International. You can go anywhere, any country without any hang-up, stops or anything just because you're Jewish. Half of them, like I said, are converts. There is no such thing as original Jews there. They're all converts and friends of converts. They're not Hebrews as the religious thing. Jews maybe, but not Hebrew. It's not a religious war. At the moment, it's just land.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what it seems like. I mean, it's just a land grab, and it doesn't even seem like a religious war, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, but the Palestinians can't just get up and leave. They control, they're
well, it's like you
kill
said,
them in
but,
there.
but there again, this is what I want to get more into: how the borders are controlled, how it is an apartheid state that they're living in. Like you said, they're in an open prison. I don't get how. Not that I don't get it. I do get it. But how can you just circle people off and be like, that's your little plot there? That's just crazy.
Right. First, Israel circles all of Palestine. So regardless of who's out or in, they're still in that Israeli circle.
This is what I'm trying to say. You've just surrounded everyone.
That comes into Palestine goes through
Israel.
Israeli control points, borders, this, that. So they know exactly who's in there and how many people are in there. And the rest is just media. Control the media, you control the war. Ukraine's been doing it without firing a bloody shot. You know, it's only now they're saying, hang on a minute, is there really a war in Ukraine? A year later, no one's got a photo of a single shot being fired in Ukraine. Oh, they've got some big houses, the scandal's starting to back up now. But America sending more money. Crazy.
Okay, so that was the history of Israel-Palestine conflict. We out. Peace.
Peace.